Hey folks, what's going on? I just want to quickly share a tip with you guys about how we can focus on responding instead of reacting. And I use two different terms of essentially the same thing because I look at them differently in the sense of responding is kind of more in a sense of doing it out of responsibility and maturity versus reacting, which is something that we may do if we are, somewhat hot-headed or we're kind of snapping back at someone when something happens to us that we don't like. So we want to focus, we want to work more towards responding to people than just reacting to an event that's taking place. Now, the best way to explain this tip is to first understand how the process works. So we know that an event will take place, and then how we experience that event. So the reality of the event is a reality. It's just an event. There's no meaning attached to it. But then what we do is we don't actually see the event for the reality it is. We see our perception or our perspective of that event. And what we do is we attach meaning to it and we make it mean what we want it to mean, which cannot always serve us or be ideal. Then based on the meaning that we've attached to this event, results in how we think about it. And how we think about an event that takes place will determine how we feel about it. And how we feel about that event will then determine how we react and behave based on that event. So understanding that based on our thoughts, we will create our feelings, and then our feelings will then create or determine how we react or respond to that event that had taken place. So let's use, for example, you get cut off while you're driving. The event takes place, you're not happy about it. Now, your first reaction could be, okay, they did this on purpose, this person doesn't know how to drive, what the hell? And based on your perspective of that event taking place and how you're reacting to that happening, and the thoughts that are going through your head, that's going to create the feeling that you're going to have of that event, which will then result in how you react and how you behave about that event. So you can imagine that if the thoughts going through your head about someone cutting you off are, this guy doesn't know how to drive, they did it on purpose, they knew I was right behind them, the feelings that you're going to get from that are obviously not going to serve you or make you feel very good. So you could assume that the way that you react to this person or react to the event is you're going to give them the finger, or you're going to swear at them or honk your horn or whatever you might do. Now, how we can work on kind of not firing back in the moment when we're hot and kind of making decisions based on our feelings, there's a point when this process happens that we can actually put a stop to it and take things in a different direction. Because the ultimate goal here is what we really want to be doing is we don't want to be reacting and responding in our life based on on our feelings, because our feelings are always changing, they're always coming and going. So it's not a secure way to live. We want to be basing our decisions and behaviors on our beliefs and our core values and who we really feel like we are as a person. And we know this firsthand because sometimes what happens is, and I'm sure you've all experienced this once or twice in your life, where we react to something, we're caught at a bad time, whether it's with your children or someone just says something. It's kind of like the straw on the camel's back, where they just say it and you just snap, and whoever it is that you snapped on, they apologize and they say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm just having a bad day. And then you say, no, I'm sorry. And you don't feel good about the way that you responded, because you don't actually feel like that is really who you are genuinely as a person, and you just kind of got caught in a bad moment. So the more we can avoid those responses, the better. We want to focus more on responding in a way that is true to who we really are as opposed to our feelings. And that really is the definition of becoming more mature and responsible as a human being, is we're not living our life based on our feelings and our emotions and our thoughts. It's just a very unstable way to live life. So the tip to share with you guys here about how we can stop this from happening is, when the event takes place, now that we understand, I've talked about perspective quite a bit, now that we understand, okay, the event is just the event, this happened, and then everything comes down to the meaning that we attach to that event. So if we are thinking, like I mentioned, where this person did it intentionally, they knew we're behind us, then obviously that's not going to serve us. So if we can just take that second to understand that we are, that this event could mean other things, and we really work to reframe the event. So the event happens, and first thing is we have thoughts about, how we interpret that event. So before just quickly thinking, okay, this person did this on purpose, they knew I was behind them, and we acted out of rage, we take a second at that point to look at our perspective and consider reframing the event for what else could have happened here, and just really taking that second to think about maybe there's more to this story that I'm not getting, which is 99% of the time the case. Where, okay, this guy's late for work, he's getting yelled at by his boss, he was told that if he's late again, he's going to get fired. He's on the way to the hospital, he's having a bad day, whatever, maybe this guy's already at wit's end, and the last thing he needs is kind of another person, he's been getting yelled at all day, who knows. When we look at the event in that sense, even me just talking about it, I can, compared to when I talked about it, about this person cutting me off, it changed the feeling. I could even feel the changes in my feelings just even at that point. So you can imagine how, depending on how we think about something or think about this event, if we think about it like this person's out to get me, the type of feelings that's going to create that we're going to then react to, versus giving this person who cut us off the benefit of the doubt, not looking at our perspective for what it's worth, and looking at different ideas of the scenario. And then when you think about it in the sense, well, maybe he's late for work and I'm not in a big rush, not that big of a deal, the feelings that are then created from the way that you're thinking about that event completely change. And then you could imagine with these types of feelings that we now have, it's going to create how we then respond or behave or react to the event that had taken place. Now, of course, your first nature is just to honk the horn and you don't have all this time to think about, but that is really the secret here of not reacting right away and kind of giving yourself that space and just taking a little bit of time to yourself to start kind of thinking this way and practicing it, and then it just becomes second nature eventually. And this goes in all areas of life. It's not just for if someone cuts you off, for example. It could simply be, you get an email that's it can be totally off guard. You've done nothing wrong and this person just snaps at you. Even then, rather than that quick response or that quick text message, take 10 seconds and just think, how else can I look at this? What else could this mean? It's going to change the way that you feel about it, and it resulting in how you react to it. So on the surface level, it's very straightforward concept, but once you understand, I'm kind of a person, when I learn something, that I have to really understand the process and the science behind it to really get it. So this is very helpful for me to understand, okay, well, this is how the system works. My thoughts happen, they create these feelings, and results create how I react. So, this is where I stop it. And it's very quickly going to allow you to start reacting and responding in the way that you actually really want to be reacting and responding, as opposed to this person who is not really you and just kind of snapping out of anger or, being hot-headed or something in that sense. So yeah, I hope you find it helpful. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys later.